The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the West Ham Massive. Please don't forget to drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment as well. Why don't you? And subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for alerts and new content, all that good stuff. As always, we thank you very much indeed for your support. We're here to discuss it. Yes, we are. That result, wasn't it? I can't even dress it up as a result, to be honest. It was a complete fucking abomination. And you might have noticed that we might say some adult language here. So, any kids might want to sort of like disappear off to sort of, Three Little Pigs or something like that. Because I can't lie, Ben. I might unload on a few people that performance. Call it a fucking performance. It was awful, mate. Awful. How about you?
Yeah, no, it was a bad day at the office, that's for sure. I think there's only a couple of players that can really come out with any credit. I think the rest, to get a result in the Premier League, you can't carry people, and we was carrying fucking 3/4 of the team yesterday. I thought it was, overall disappointing result. Obviously getting beat 4-1, but there was points in the game where we were still in it. Do you know what I mean? It was only 1-0 at half time. We brought it back to 2-1, but overall, everywhere across the pitch, I thought we was poor. Do you know what I mean? I think defensively, we would come up wanting again. Up front, we will come onto it, but we looked pretty toothless in attack, mainly because the guy was leading the attack, and the midfield didn't look too clever either. So yeah, across the pitch, it wasn't great.
It was a pretty tough watch, as Happy says there. Good evening to you. Okay, let's start right at the beginning. So, hour before kickoff, David Moyes announces his starting 11. What were your overriding thoughts? I know what mine was, but I'd like to get yours.
Well, like I said on the preview, Rob, I would say there's a good 8 or 9 players that are justifying their place in the team prior to yesterday. But yeah, for me, look, I can't really argue with the lineup too much, but it was very disappointing that Kudus wasn't in the team.
Yeah.
He's come on, changed the game against Newcastle, scored. He scored 2 when he has started a game. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what more does this lad need to do to start? Do you know what I mean? It's the way Moyes has to drag it out is ridiculous, to be honest. And the disappointing thing for me was definitely Kudus not starting and Antonio starting, because it's one of them. I think he's been pretty shocking. That performance from Antonio, he's been building up to that for the last probably 3 or 4 performances. Yeah, he's gradually getting worse and worse and worse. Talking shit on YouTube about if he was in Man City's team, he'd score 30 goals. Talking shit about how we're going to finish above Liverpool, and then they turn us over. So It's just too much talk, and not enough delivery on the pitch. So that was I thought it was just a safe bet from Moyes and a bit of a boring team selection, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same as you, mate. I sort of looked at the starting lineup, and it was like it wasn't lost on me the fact that this was the same starting 11 in the Premier League competition for 5 consecutive games. I did sort of wonder, is it going to be a little bit of predictability? I mean, say what you want about Unai Emery. He is a quality manager. He is a tactical mastermind. I know people sort of point at his time at Arsenal, but I'm very much of the opinion that it was very similar to when Alex Ferguson knocked it on the head and David Moyes was the guy that obviously succeeded him. It's a very, very tall order to go in and follow a legendary figure at a club like that and hit the ground running. Unai Emery went in after Arsene Wenger at Arsenal. I don't think he did a horrifically bad job. You look at his CV in Europe, he's a quality manager. He's won the Europa League, UEFA Cup, call it what you want, 4 times with 2 different clubs, Sevilla and Villarreal. And, you know, I thought he schooled Moyes. I think he probably knew what the starting lineup was. I think we all knew what the starting lineup was going to be. And if you know what your opponent is going to do, they're much easier to counter. And I think that's exactly what happened yesterday, Ben. I think that he had a game plan. He set up to nullify us. I think he set up to expose our weaknesses. They did both of those things with supreme efficiency. And we just didn't turn up yesterday, mate. I thought we were absolutely fucking pathetic.
I agree. Yeah, I think, and for me, like so, I'd be interested, Rob, that if there's any other team that so far this season has played exactly the same team in exactly the same formation for 5 games in a row. I don't think there is. Like, you kind of freshen things up. You look at who's playing well, who's not. Tactically, you might mix it up. But it's just, come on, like at least try something a bit different. Mm-hmm. And you've spent 30 million on a player who's come on, got you a point in the last game. You got to start him. Do you know what I mean? But I think, I don't think it was a tactical masterclass from Emery. I think just 3/4 of our team didn't even show up. And it was a lot of basic, it was kind of to the basics,
Yeah, but I do think that, like I say, if you know what your opponent is going to do, you're much easier to play against. Do you know what I mean? It's like playing a game of poker with your cards face up. You're much easier to play against. It's much more straightforward to sort of devise a strategy. And I'm not even, I'm not even too sure that I could probably. I mean, you said that 2/3 of the team were sort of, going to come in for a bit of criticism. We'll get into that. I'd actually say it was probably more than that, if I'm being honest. For me, and I think Happy put it in the chat. I think the only 2 that could possibly, definitely Bowen. He can hold his head high and say that, I turned up, I gave it my all, but I was just let down by the people around me. I'd probably I mean, Kudus, I don't think was on the pitch enough time. I don't think I can really include him. I'd probably turn around and say Emerson was sort of like, he played all right. I thought he was probably the best of our defenders. Let's put it that way. Everybody else was just like, where the fuck were they? Were they shopping at the ball ring or something? I ain't got a fucking clue where they were. They sure as hell weren't on the fucking pitch at Villa.
Well, I think, mate, the 2 that stood out for me, I mean, and look, let's not get too disheartened. We're still done in overall terms, but we've still done well so far this season. But we've got to analyse the game, and the game we've just watched was very poor. I mean, the 2 that stunk the place out for me was Antonio and the golden boy Paqueta. Right, this guy has obviously got shitloads of ability, but the fact is, in my mind, the first goal is on Paqueta, right? Yep. You can pick, obviously they built up a move, but watch it again, and see where Douglas Luiz and Paqueta is. Paqueta is strolling around. It's like he was in the ball ring, Rob. It's like, do you know what he was doing? he was strolling around. His missus is looking for a handbag in a handbag shop, and he's gone, do you know what, babe? I'm going to go and wait outside. And it's like he was checking his phone at some shit. So he's just strolling along. There's a guy within 2 or 3 yards of him. Didn't even know he was there, and then all of a sudden he scored, and it was like, well, I'm not in the team to pick people up and track back and mark them. I'm there to do a nice little step over and a Cruyff turn. Do you know what I mean? And look fancy. So for me, yeah, it was that we still only went in 1-0 down, and it was fairly delicately poised at half time. But I honestly, I would have hauled Paqueta and Antonio off at half time to show a real statement that first half performance of, I might turn up, I might not, that fucking won't be tolerated.
What did you think of the goal that put Villa 1-0 up? Do you place any? When I first saw it, I thought I was a little bit disappointed with Areola. I mean, sort of like he made a good save in the first half from Douglas Luiz. He sprang to his right and got hand on the ball, pushed it away for a corner. But the goal, when it initially went in, my initial impression was, for a goalkeeper of how he's been this season, I do apologise for my dog barking in the background. I did sort of look at it initially and think, I think he could and should have done better there. When you watch it again, though, do you think that possibly there's a little bit of a little bit of blame that needs to be lifted off of his shoulder for that?
To be honest, mate, I don't think it's his fault at all. Do you know what I mean? I think someone's been teed up on the edge of the box, whacks it in the bottom corner. I think it takes a slight little deflection as well. Do you know what I mean? I think there's an ever so slight deflection. I don't think, personally, I wouldn't be laying any blame at Areola's door for the first goal. Definitely not. Like I say, I think if Paqueta was awake, maybe he gets in and tracks Luiz back. But that just, it set the tone. I think Moyes, I genuinely think the team selection, I think the other players in the team must sit there and think, fucking hell, the other players must know Antonio's been playing like a donkey for about a month, right? And you've got a lad that's coming in and scoring pretty much every time he comes in. And they must be thinking, fuck me, we'll probably create a few chances today, and that fucker will just put it into row Z. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's just a bit, I feel like it's a bit demoralising for the other players when they know they've got other players that should be in the team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Ben. It's, moving on to the second half. I mean, I didn't think our performance in the first half was much to write home about. Oh my God. Oh my God. The second half. I mean, like I say, I thought we were at best bang average in that first half. Second half, mate. Yeah.
But herein lies the, so I blame the second goal on Paqueta as well. Yeah, regardless of the fact, he's and don't get me wrong, I'm criticising his performance. He's a wonderful player, and he will make us tick. So there's probably going to be performances like this because he doesn't want to just, in a defensive position, he doesn't just want to clip it down the line. He wants to do something fancy, but there's got to be a bit of game intelligence there that just keep it tight in the first 10 minutes after half time and don't do anything too risky in your own box, which he did. Obviously, Alvarez has been caught out, and I think it is a penalty. I think he does clip him. So then we're 2-0 down. We're 2-0 down before we've even had a chance to think about it. But like I say, I was just, where that performance was so average in the first half, make some subs. Do something positive to affect the game. He's making the subs 9 times out of 10 before it's too late. And we all know it, and we all can predict when he's going to bring people on and who he's going to bring on. So, it was just all in all, like you say, Rob, when you thought the first half was pretty poor / average, well, that was the best that was to come because obviously we go 2-0 down from the penalty. We're probably a little bit lucky with the goal, if we're honest. Do you know what I mean? It's a good strike, but it takes a deflection. But I'm really pleased for Bowen that he's equalled this record because it keeps his, he's in high company. And I was pleased for him. And I think Bowen really was probably the only good performance.
Only one of the starters, anyway, probably.
Yeah, and then to be honest, mate, that their third and fourth goals just looked so easy. Do you know what I mean? It was like, does anyone fancy actually trying to block a shot or put a foot in? Do you know what I mean? It's like it wasn't like they had to work very hard for either of those, the third and the fourth. And I think for me, Zuma's got to do better on the third. You know what I mean? He's let him have a shot too easily, and then exactly the same with Agurd for the fourth. It's like, come on, lads, you're meant to be the tough guys in the centre half that you don't mind taking one in the face for the team. But it don't seem to me they've got that mental toughness. The likes of like a John Terry, he's gonna throw his face in front of that ball to stop it, whereas our lads will actually pull their head out of the way based on that performance yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the third goal, I don't know about you. I thought Ollie Watkins made a mug of Kurt Zouma. Kurt Zouma yesterday looked like he was perpetually injured. I don't know if he was wearing lead boots or what, but it was just like his movement shockingly bad.
Mm.
Any striker with any sort of mobility, he's fucked.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, Rob, I think it, like I say, you don't want to be too negative when it's been a pretty good start to the season. But, if I'm honest, I don't think we've had a real good 90-minute performance for quite a while. Do you know what I mean? And,
we always start the second half on the back foot. Always. Yeah. Look at the games. We come out from half time, Ben, and it's like, we're going like, come on, through you come,
Yeah,
every time.
And I just I think there's a few little concerns there for me. I think there's a few little concerns just creeping in. I'm looking at our fixtures in the lead up to Christmas, and we're pretty much playing 2 games a week, and I'm thinking we're conceding probably 3 goals on average a game. We're relying on a 33-year-old striker up front. It seems no matter how poor he plays, he still gets picked. And I think with all these games coming up, I'm thinking maybe the squad's looking a little bit short because that we've touched on it in a few other games, Rob. That when a few of these lads do lose form, who is there to take their place? Because the lads on the bench ain't really stepping up to the plate. I mean, they're not getting that much of an opportunity, but when they do, they're not really pulling up trees.
Absolutely. It was like I say, second half was just piss poor. I think you're right. I think we've got possibly bigger problems than maybe what our start has kind of glossed over it. This is just my opinion. I think that the start in terms of the results has been decent enough. Only 2 results we'd lost up to yesterday was that we'd not managed to get something out of, was obviously against Man City and Liverpool. No shame in that, as we've discussed. But I do think that kind of glossed over possibly some issues that have been hidden in plain sight for me. I think that defensively, we look very, very suspect. And I think any team that's got any sort of clout about them, any sort of real sort of pace and tactical nous, they're going to get at us, mate. And that's what happened yesterday. And this for me is worrying because I look at, as you say, the fixtures that are coming up, and I look and go, oh, we've got Emerson out the next game. He's been one of our standout players, let's be honest. Well, okay, he's playing against Everton. Who the fuck's playing at left back? What are we doing here? We putting Ben Johnson there, a player that is, in all likelihood, we're going to be waving off out the door at the end of this summer. Are we going to bring back Aaron Cresswell? Yeah, great servant to the club, but his day's done. And we don't want to fucking be here. Are we going to Tilo? I think someone put Tilo Kehrer in. The last time he played at left back was against Leeds United at my memory, at Ellen Road, and he was absolutely fucking awful. So what are we doing? We putting a Gerd over there? Are we putting a Bonner over there? Are we changing formation? What the fuck are we doing? This is how thin this squad is. That one player being out for one game completely throws everything out of whack. We have got a problem against Everton, I believe.
I don't know, mate. Yeah, well, if we've got a problem against Everton at home, then we have got a problem. So look, I'm hopeful that we can just write this one off as a blip. But I think Moyes will know. Moyes will know. That was a bad performance, and I hope I presume they'll watch the video today, and a few people know they've got to liven up massively.
Thing is, though, Ben, we've said this before, where players have had to liven up, and then you look at the starting lineup the following week, and it's the same old suspects, the likes of the Součeks, the likes of the Antonios. And I don't really see that it's going to be different against Everton, but we'll see. Players, I'm guessing you're probably in agreement with me that our star man is probably cut and dried. It's Jared Bowen.
Yeah. Because I think even you know what you're going to get with Bowen in that. Look, he scored. That's what he's in the team to do. He scored a goal. He looked lively, and he works his nuts off every game. And I think if every player done that, then we'd be happy. So I think a lot of the player, without a doubt, Bowen was our star man.
Who stood out for Villa? Was there? I mean, I thought there was two standout players for Villa. I thought Ollie Watkins obviously got the goal, got an assist, but I thought, and this is a player that, to be honest, I in the past I've sort of looked at and thought he's something of a cart horse. To be honest with you, Douglas Luiz yesterday I thought was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. No, well, you've got to say he scored two. Looked like he done well in the middle of the park, and I think he's a quality player, mate. I think it was about 18 months ago Arsenal wanted him, didn't they? And
yeah, I believe so.
And I was thinking about that. I was thinking, I wonder if they'd have got him, whether they'd have gone for Rice. Do you know what I mean? So, well, you never know, because it didn't happen. But yeah, I think he's a good player, and not that I want to dwell on the negative. I was in our WhatsApp group, Rob. I was actually thinking that's probably an area on the park that I'm thinking we could look a bit like on is in central midfield, because I do look at the central midfield three have played really well this season, and I know Paqueta's out on the left, but I just feel like we lost Rice, Lanzini, and Downs, who were either first team or on the bench. Plus, we've let Freddie Potts go. Yeah, I know, but that's four potentials from this, for this season. And we brought in Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse. So I do actually think, in terms of all the games we've got coming up, thick and fast, 2 a week, I'm thinking we feel a little bit light in central midfield as well. So, I hope we don't rue letting Downs go. People might think he weren't a world beater. Well, actually, when I watched him last season, he played well in every game. Do you know what I mean? And I think he was, I think he was a little bit harshly treated by Moyes, old Flynn Down. So, yeah, we digress. But I just, I'm a little bit. I think that game has shown a bit of our frailties. That, if people aren't on the game, I'm not sure who's come in and replace them.
No, I agree. I completely do. Do you think it was the final score was a fair reflection? I mean, personally, I'll be perfectly honest with you, Ben. I think there's a case to say that we were lucky to get away with a 4-1.
Really?
I think it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, I think I think the timing of their third goal killed us, because when we looking on a little bit of the positive, when we went 2-1, we were on top, albeit that it weren't like we were peppering loads of shots. I think when you look at the stats, Rob, the shots are fairly even. So I think it's like they might have had one more shot than us, but we only had 1 shot on target against their 6. Do you know what I mean? So we was wasteful in front of goal, which we were. I mean, I'm not being funny. In the first half, we've had a free kick. Something's come about. The ball's gone lofted back. Paqueta is 7 yards out, Rob. Yeah, he's facing our own goal, so he's facing away from goal. He could have took a touch and just side-footed in. He's gone to try some pathetic overhead kick because it was like, oh, look at me and look what I can do, instead of, no, let's get back level in this game, But I would say 4-1, maybe flattered them ever so slightly, but yeah, whether it did or it didn't, that was the score and that's it.
So now we sort of move on to, we're just going to touch on the next Premier League match. Do you think that this result will have any impact on our next Premier League game? As I say, Emerson's going to be out. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be, their places are going to come under scrutiny. Do you think it was going to have an impact for the Everton game?
Yeah, I think it will. I'd like to think it will. I mean, like you say, we've played the same team for the last 5 games, and up until yesterday, it hasn't really. Moyes could sit back and say, "Well, it's worked," because we're still doing well. But I think he's got to have a long, hard look at the lads he's picked, and particularly Antonio, particularly Agerd, and think whether he needs to change things up, because we do have options in those particular areas of the pitch, albeit not a wealth of options. But up top, Kudus is there. At centre half, Ogbonna and Mavropanos is there, and obviously he's got a selection choice that he needs to make at left back. To be honest, Rob, I think this has happened before when we've been leaking goals, and Moyes has gone 3 centre halves. Do you know what I mean? That's his kind of go-to when we're conceding goals. That's his go-to. He gets more bodies. I'd like to think he won't think he needs to do that against Everton at home, but who knows? Maybe that's his decision. Maybe he brings another centre half in, and then he can put maybe an Oliver Scholes out on left wing back. I don't know. That would be an exciting choice.
It's never going to happen, is it? Let's be honest. I agree with you. I'd love to see it, Ben. Don't get me wrong, but I think we both know in our heart of hearts he's probably about as likely to play you as he is Ollie Scholes.
But we've got a difficult decision to make, albeit, Rob, if Ben Johnson's fit, I do actually think he seems to play well at left back. I like Ben Johnson. I know it's looking like he's going to leave the club, but well, listen, mate. Look, we've got to go out there and not dwell on this game. I know we are, because we're analysing the game that's just happened. Yeah, so that's what the point of this podcast is. But fundamentally, we're Everton at home. We need to go out there and not dwell on this game, and we need to go out there and push forward our assets, because we do have some good assets, albeit that I've criticised him. Paqueta obviously is a top player, and whether Moyes might think maybe the experiment of him playing on the left, and he might bring him in the middle and put Kudus out wide or something like that, or Ben Rama. We do have players that have got the ability on the bench, so hopefully he mixes it up a little bit.
Final thoughts before we knock it on the head?
Well, final thoughts. Disappointing performance, but let's not dwell on it. Let's think of the positives so far this season, because I would say the positives have outweighed the negatives. We've had a tough run of fixtures, and we're coming into a run of fixtures now that, on paper, we should be picking up a lot of points. So let's do the business on the pitch.
Thanks for that, Ben. And as it says there, please don't forget to like, comment on, and share the stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell icon for alerts on all new content. And we always thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. We're going to see you for the preview of the Olympiacos game, which will probably be Wednesday, I'm guessing, Ben. That sound about all okay with you?
Sounds good to me, brother.
Always good. Come on, you Irons, and don't forget to lend your support to the Iron Supporting Food Banks charity. We'll see you next time. Take care. The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.